And welcome to On Deck with DeRo Arch. It is late December of 2024. It is hard to believe that 2024 is almost behind us, but I guess it's true what they say, Darren. As you get older, the time just goes faster.
That's the fact, and time's rolling pretty fast for me right now because I'm definitely getting older, but looking forward to this time of year, being able to spend it with family and uh, the group of grandkids that we both have, and I just really look forward to this time of year.
Yeah, that grandpa business is a good business to be in. So I didn't see that coming in my earlier years. I didn't realize that the grandpa life was as good as it is, but it certainly is rewarding and worth every moment. So you and we're on the same page there. We're going
Yeah,
to jump
I
into
hate,
some.
hate
Go
DeRo.
ahead.
I've always said if I'd have known being a grandparent was this good, I'd have skipped the parenting part.
That's true. And our kids might have wished we would have.
Right.
So it might go both ways.
Yes.
Anyway, well, we'll turn to some sporting news here before we get any further trouble on the air. We're going to start sort of in a national sense in this first segment. I'm going to open up with the Bill Belichick announcement here, where he's going to the University of North Carolina. You surprised by that, or what's your take on that?
I was surprised, especially with a few of the potential. Well, there's one that's already open, but potential openings that could happen in the NFL here within the month. So I was a little surprised by that. I really think this is a pretty strategic move on his part. He has a son that is coaching, and I've read a few articles that are say I don't know if there's some type of deal to where his son could possibly be the coach in waiting by chance. None of that's been announced, and I'm sure that that's something that you know if that occurs, uh, then Bill Belichick looks awfully smart by being able to do it. But he loves the game of football, and glad to see him back in coaching.
Absolutely. And this is a weird question to ask because the obvious answer is yes, but I mean, do his skill sets do they transcend to the college game?
Oh, I think so. The college game has become so much like the game and vice versa with the RPOs, and that basically started in the college game and has transferred well into the professional level. I think he creates one heck of a recruiting tool by himself. In fact, that he has so many connections to the NFL and to those scouts, to those GMs. That kids are going to want to go play for him to be able to get that exposure. And hey, let's face it, he's gonna draw national exposure from day one, and everybody's going to be keeping one eye on what's happening across the nation, and another eye on what he's able to do at North Carolina. So I think it's a great fit for North Carolina, obviously, and I think that he will be successful there.
Yeah, and the interesting piece of that to me is, and you and I have talked a lot about this, but the ever evolving transfer portal, and how that's, I mean, just changed the game, all sports, probably like nothing else has, at least in our lifetime. Um, I read the other day, I think this was on Friday of last week, that there are 6,311 football entries into the transfer portal, football alone. So if you segue that back to the Bill Belichick thing, I mean, he comes up out of a world where it's free agents, and you're signing people, and you're building a team, literally building a team based on being able to pick from an available lot. And so I think the NCAA, the way it's headed, Belichick, that's fitting right into what he's done for a long time. I mean, he's going to look over 6,300 guys that are in the portal, see which ones fit the best to the system that he's trying to run, and he's going to try to go recruit those guys.
Agreed. And another element, obviously, is the name, image, and likeness, and the money that college athletes are going to be able to obtain. And at the University of North Carolina, they're not going to be, slighted any money when it comes to being able to pay those kids NLI money. So, like I said, I just think it's a good situation. He will put great people around him. And I think the transition is going to be pretty smooth for him.
Yeah, I mean, you about have to think that he can get about anybody he wants to in terms of assistants and coordinators and those kind of things. If Bill Belichick called me on my cell, I'd probably respond. If I was in the football game and knew anything about it. So I think he can insulate and surround himself with people that understand him, that will compliment him, that will sort of put aside any weaknesses that he might have possibly in the college setting. So interesting times at North Carolina. And I'm like you, I think it's a great move for North Carolina. I just don't see any downside for them. So it'll be fun to watch that evolve. Kind of staying on the topic of college football, the Army-Navy game, the annual Army-Navy game was Saturday. And Darren, I don't know if you got a chance to see any of that or not. I know you're coaching right now. I'm pretty busy, but just the national anthem in that game, sang by the military choir, all those soldiers on both sides standing in the crowd at attention. I mean, it was it's just a cool moment. And football game aside, that it has to be just one of the coolest moments each and every year in college football.
Agreed. And what a time to be able to reflect and be thankful for the men and women of our country that serve our country, and the pageantry that's put into that. It's basically the only show going on in college football. There were a few bowl games, lesser bowl games, but that is kind of the show. And it, like I said, it just gives, I think, we as fans a chance to be thankful for those young men and women that put their lives on the line every day to give us the freedoms that we have.
For sure. And if you're joining us, I would encourage you just to go check that out on YouTube or whatever media platform. Just watch the national anthem and those soldiers, and just, first of all, they look really young compared to you and I, and but just to see them and how proud they are, and just how they're representing our country, just a really good thing. So, viewers, I'd encourage you to check that out if you get a chance. Switching sports, I'm going to switch to basketball. Local to us in the Springfield, Missouri area, basketball tournaments, high school basketball tournaments, sort of take center stage right after Christmas. The annual blue and gold and the annual pink and white tournaments. Those are timeless things that affect people going back years and on all kinds of levels. You and I have participated in those as dads, as coaches, as fans. So those tournaments are really special to me, and I'm sure you feel the same.
Absolutely. A lot of great memories from the holiday tournaments, and just feel blessed at our age, we are able to still be participants in some shape or fashion. But it's a holiday tradition, and obviously Southwest Missouri and the Springfield area are not the Lone Rangers in that situation. There are great tournaments all across the state at the high school level. Boy, if you like basketball, this is a great time of year. You get to see a lot of teams play. And this time of year, we're hopefully teams start to get things figured out, and across the state, things kind of shape up as far as if you take it down to conferences, districts, and potential state play. Things kind of start to take shape, and you start to figure out who's who, and just a great time of year for a basketball fan.
Absolutely. And it is sort of that last hurrah before most of those teams enter into their conference play. So it does have a sense of an end to the first half of the season. And it sort of points you as a team, as a coach, into the direction of prepping for your conference schedule, and then ultimately trying to get out of districts and so on. So blue and gold, pink and white, really great times for sure. With the basketball thing, I'm going to throw out something else to you here just to kind of debate back and forth. In the state of Missouri, we do not have the shot clock at the high school level. MISHA has provided schools that are hosting tournaments the opportunity to have a shot clock. So the school must apply for permission. MISHA will grant that permission, and then you can operate the shot clock in the tournament that you host based on or with the permission of the other participating schools. So a couple of weeks ago, I had a chance to actually work the shot clock at a tournament. All 12 games of the tournament, I worked the shot clock, 35-second shot clock. So I'm just going to throw that at you. What's your take on the shot clock at the high school level in the state of Missouri?
It's coming,
Yeah.
whether we want it to or not. And, I think it's a good change. I know a lot of people resistant to it, but a lot of people were resistant to the 3-point line going back in,
Right.
Back in 1986. And you look how that has evolved and changed the game overall. And I think it's a different way to coach. I'm not going to lie to you. I've had the fortune or misfortune, however you want to look at it, of coaching with a shot clock, and it changes things up quite a bit, and in the way you approach, each possession, and it's different. It's different. But here again, it's not a matter of if, it's when. Shot clocks are going to be administered throughout the entire state, and I think if it's coming, we might as well get used to it. Let's throw it in the tournaments and let's see how things roll.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed when I was running it was the game never seemed really over. So when the game got to the fourth quarter, of course, I've got a little coaching blood in me, but I was counting. I was looking at the regular clock, and then I was counting, hey, how many possessions are still available in the game? And when there's no shot clock, you can't predict that. You don't know how many possessions you have. With the shot clock, you could sort of, okay, hey, I've got 8 possessions left in this game, or there's 14 available left. And so you could sort of start to do the math and put that together. And yeah, I think it changes the way coaches can approach the fourth quarter. There are some more definite things that you can count on in the fourth quarter. Instead of, you're going to get the ball back without question, you're going to get the ball back. And so your decisions become, hey, how are we going to maximize our possessions? Do we shoot quick so that we can get more, and so on. So from a coaching standpoint, fourth quarters are much different. And obviously we know that on the surface. But it didn't really click with me until I sort of sat there and was able to count those possessions out. So yeah. I agree with you. It's coming. You and I are just peons in the whole system, and that's the way we want it. But It would not surprise me if next year or the year following, that was pretty much would be mandated, and you would see it in the state of Missouri across the state.
Yeah, and one thing that I did not realize is that every state surrounding the state of Missouri at the high school level has already incorporated the shot clock. So, like I said, it's not a matter of if, it's when. And I think it'll be here, if not next year, definitely the year after that.
And it did make for an exciting brand of basketball. It was very fast paced. There were very, very few actual shot clock violations, if I'm just being honest. But there was this sense that the clock was running, so to speak. And so teams did run in transition a little more and did take some quick shots and those kind of things. So I think from the fan perspective, they love a fast-paced game and up and down. And so I think they're going to get what they want here in a year or two. So
absolutely,
that's worth watching as well. Before we go to break, and I didn't reference this with you before we came on air, but you and I have been around high school basketball for a long time, and I was struck this week by the basketball referees, the officials, just what a good job those guys do and gals do night in and night out. And they take a beating from coaches and fans alike. And you and I, we've probably not been kind to them on occasion ourselves. But, every year when I see those guys, it turns out that they're friends first and then referees second. So, it's just really cool every year to see those guys. And I'm not name dropping here, but, in the last 2 weeks, I had a chance to see some local guys, a Darren Banner and a John Sterling and a J.R. Collins and Gary McGinnis, and the list goes on and on. That's certainly not does not include everybody out there that's a good referee, but just to see those guys year in and year out, and you get a chance to catch up with them. And the first conversation that you have with them is usually, "Hey, how you doing? How's the family?"
Yeah, exactly.
And those kind of things. And so I just wanted to take a second. I'm going to let you jump in, but I just wanted to take a second and say thanks to those guys and gals that do that every year, and just mainly for their friendship. It's really nice to just have that network of people that care about kids the way they do.
Yeah, DeRo couldn't have said it any better myself. And we are very blessed to have a great group of officials here in Southwest Missouri with the I think it's SMBOA or SWMB,
Right.
whatever it is, whatever the acronym is, but they do a fantastic job. And we're blessed throughout the state with great officials. And, you're absolutely right. We're coaches and officials second. We're human beings first, and there's a great deal of respect that I have for the job that they do, night in and night out. And you're right. Hey, they take some verbal abuse, not just from coaches, but from people in the stands as well. And I certainly couldn't do their job, so hats off to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's kind of the time of year to, like you said, to be, have some gratitude and thankfulness, and those guys and gals, like, we just couldn't play the game without them. I mean, and there is a core group of referees that year in and year out you can count on to be there. And in the end, whether people believe this or not, they enjoy the kids. I mean, that's their number one priority. And coaches and fans can disagree with that all they want, but they wouldn't do it if they didn't enjoy kids. And so I just wanted to take 2 minutes of our Missouri Sports Network time and just recognize those folks. So with that being said, I'm going to take us to break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about a little college football, 4 big games coming up this Saturday. And then we're going to fill you in on some local basketball at the college level in the state of Missouri. So with that being said, stay tuned for this message, and we'll see you after the break.
Hi, I'll have the avocado toast minus the avocado.
So, toast.
Yeah. Everything is so expensive these days.
Hey, Chevy gets it. That's why they're keeping prices down to earth, like on the most affordable EV in America. A super strong and capable Chevy truck. And a high-tech Chevy SUV. Why is Chevy making affordable vehicles connected by OnStar? It's so together we can do more.
We believe banking should make your life greater. It starts with affordable options to meet today's needs and tomorrow's dreams. From smart account options that fit your style to flexible loans for what comes next. It means convenient ways to access and manage your money whenever you need it and wherever you're headed. Most of all, it takes great support. Someone you can count on for trusted guidance and to be there for you every step of the way. Great options, great convenience, great support for life. Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters.
And welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on Deck with DeRo Arch. I am Eric DeRossett. Alongside me is Darren Archer, and we're hitting segment 2. We're going to jump right in. College football this Saturday. The initial 4 playoff games will start this Saturday. Interesting matchups. You and I talked last time we were on the air, and I sort of made you pick who you had in each individual matchup. This week, I'm going to take a step further. I actually looked up who was the favored team in each game and by how much. So I'm going to throw those favorites and the point spread your way, and I'm going to just open it up for a little feedback from you. How's that sound?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Game number 1 is the 12-5. That's Clemson and Texas. Texas is an 11-point or 11.5-point favorite in that game. What are you thinking?
I'm taking Texas and the over.
Yeah.
I think that SEC championship game may have put them on notice, and I bet they've had some pretty spirited practices here this past week and heading into that first playoff game. But yeah, I'll take Texas and the over.
You notice how coaches always use that word spirited. We try to paint that we try to paint that positive, right?
That's the politically correct way of saying we ran them through the mill.
Yeah, spirited covers it, right?
Spirited, correct.
Yeah. The next game I'm going to talk about is Tennessee and Ohio State. This one surprised me a little bit. Ohio State is a 7.5-point favorite.
Well, I'm taking Tennessee in the over.
Yeah.
I think that this may be Ryan Day's last coaching experience at Ohio State, possibly. And matter of fact, I think anything short of a national championship may not bode well for him. But I've got to take Tennessee in the over or the under.
Well,
the points.
I got you. Yep.
Tennessee in the points.
It's interesting you say that about Ryan Day because the winner of that game gets Oregon. I mean, you talk about a rough road. If indeed he is, on the hot seat, which I think we all agree probably is, he's got to beat Tennessee, but then the reward of beating Tennessee is playing Oregon in that second round game. So that's a rough road.
It is. And you know what's interesting, though? Ohio State played Oregon at Oregon, I think third or fourth weekend of the season, and lost by 1.
Yes.
And so, that's the great thing I think that is going to take place in this new tournament format or playoff format is, I think it's going to take on the feel of basketball a little bit in the fact that, how is that week off or that extra week off for Oregon going to affect them?
Yes.
Rolling it over into that second round playoff scenario. So I still got to believe that Tennessee, with their offensive firepower, I'm taking them in the points.
Yeah. And you're right about the feel of it. It does have a college basketball feel, and then it sort of intersects with an NFL feel on the wild card weekend into the following weekend. So you and I have said on here before that we're excited about this system. So it's going to be fun to watch it play out. SMU and Penn State. Penn State favored by 8.5 in that one.
I'm going to take Penn State and the over. I just think the Big Ten, playing in the Big Ten, they've played Ohio State awfully close. If I'm not mistaken, that's their only loss. And they are built about behind that 4 yards in a cloud of dust and really stopping people on the defensive end. And I just think with the comparative schedules, I've got to take Penn State.
Yeah. And the winner there will have Boise State. Their running back finished second in the Heisman. I saw an interview with him and was just really impressed with his response to not winning the Heisman. Did you happen to catch any of that?
I did. And even leading up to it, if you noticed, he wore Boise State colors in every picture leading up to that, I guess would be in Saturday night. He had Boise State colors on, and they asked him why. He said, well, if it weren't for Boise State, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So that's a young man that's got it figured out. He's moving up top a lot of people's draft lists.
Yeah, and he might run crazy the next time he gets a chance to run on the field. I would say he has some extra motivation that he didn't have a week ago. So, and he's good without the extra motivation.
Yes.
So, The last game is Indiana, and viewers, for those of you who don't know, Mr. Archer here is a native to Indiana before he saw the light and moved to Missouri and stayed here. But yeah, he hails from Indiana, and he's not used to talking about Indiana football. It's usually basketball. Indiana faces Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a 7.5-point favorite.
As much as this pains me, I'm going to have to take Notre Dame in the points. Now, one thing that I've talked to a couple friends back home, and it's hard to predict weather a week out, but there is a chance for I don't want to say a major snowstorm, but the type of snow that could have an impact on the game. And now, obviously, that could change 4 or 5 times between now and
Right.
Saturday when the game's played. But anytime you get north of Indianapolis, the weather can get a little bit nuts. And South Bend is, I don't know why they call it South, because it's about as far north as you can get in the state. And I would say if the weather is a factor, definitely Notre Dame and the points.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The winner gets Georgia. So let's say that Notre Dame wins that. Who do you like in that Notre Dame Georgia potential matchup?
Honestly, Notre Dame, just because of the quarterback situation going on with Georgia. Now they've got a few weeks to kind of get things figured out, coach to their new quarterback. But with Beck going out and having all that experience at that level, that's a big hit.
Absolutely.
I don't care. You just don't plug a kid in, and you're going to have to make adjustments to hit to that quarterback strengths. And I think that Notre Dame is going to have a slight edge into that game.
Yeah, and the eyes of the whole nation will be on them at that point. Just at that point, there'll just be 8 teams left. And so you can't hide behind another game or another matchup that's going on somewhere. Like, you are going to be front and center in everybody's living room. So a lot of pressure for whoever takes on that challenge. Mizzou will play Iowa in the Nashville Music City Bowl, so that's a good chance for Mizzou to finish off what has been a really nice season for them. I've kind of been keeping up with them a little bit in terms of transfer portal, and it seems that they're shopping pretty hard for a quarterback at this point for next year. It appears that they missed out on the USC guy. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not, but I know they were in the hunt for the USC quarterback who was transferring out, and I think he ended up at Louisville, if I'm not mistaken. Gotcha. So it's just a different day and time in college athletics when you're already eyeballing your quarterback for next year as a transfer. So best of luck to Mizzou in that game. Iowa, they play the game the right way.
Yeah, they do, and they're very, very defensive oriented.
Yes.
It's going to be a contrasting styles, and it'll be a fun game to watch. I think that you've got to give Mizzou a little bit of the edge going into this game, but don't discount Iowa. Once again, they play that brutal Big Ten schedule. Obviously, Mizzou does too in the SEC, but I think whoever can control the ball and if the point totals are below 20, then you got to think Iowa's got a pretty good chance to win. If they're up in the mid 30s, you got to like Mizzou's chances.
Yeah, and I love the proximity of Nashville for both teams. I think both fan bases will be well represented there. So a great job by the Nashville and Music City folks, or whoever sort of got the inside track on the Mizzou-Iowa matchup. I think it's a win-win for both schools. It's a win for Nashville. I think that's a well-placed game for all involved, for sure. Yep. Switching gears to some local college news here. We are kind of at a little bit of a transition time, probably. College basketball is in full swing. However, you referenced last week that end of semester is sort of either hit last week or it's upon us this week. And teams typically slow down a little bit during finals time and try not to be on the road as much and those kind of things. Before I jump into the basketball, I did want to reference Mizzou volleyball. They made it to the Sweet 16, got beat by Kentucky, but finished the year with great numbers. I think they went 22-9 and 11-5 in the SEC.
Yeah, they were players all year. They were a factor in the SEC results, and obviously making it to the Sweet 16 and in the national tournament. Quite a feat for Mizzou, and you don't often equivalate Mizzou to national powerhouse volleyball wise, but with the new coach, she's done a great job in just 2 years, and they're going to be a national player.
Yeah, and a really good league, as we reference all the time. I'm going to hit a few basketball highlights, and then at the end, I'll probably work my way back to Missouri State and Mizzou basketball, and I'll let you chime in when I get to that point. Just briefly, MIAA, the schools in Missouri that are part of the MIAA. Missouri Western this is men's. They are at 8-2, 1-1 in the conference. Central Missouri State comes in at 5-4, and they are 1-1 in the conference. Northwest Missouri State struggling a little bit early. They're 2-7 and 1-1 in the conference. On the women's side in the MIAA, Missouri Western women 6-3 overall and 2-0 in the conference. And Northwest Missouri State 7-3 and 0-2 in the conference. Washburn on the men's side, Washburn is leading the MIAA at this point. Obviously, early on, they're 2-0, but they are 9-0 overall. You and I are a little bit familiar with Washburn, and they've always kind of known how to do it at Washburn.
Yes, yeah, they've got a fantastic program, and really recruit those D1 kids that slip through the cracks, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. On the GLVC side, on the men's portion of it, Missouri S&T men are 6-0 to start out. So great start for them. 3-0 in the conference. SBU comes in at 5-3, and they are 3-1 in the conference. UMSL is University of Missouri St. Louis. They are 3-1 in the conference. Drury is 5-3 overall, and 1-2 in the conference. So some pretty good representation from the Missouri schools in the Great Lakes Valley Conference. On the women's side, Drury 6-2, 3-0 in the conference. Drury women know a little bit about winning when it comes to basketball. So on the women's side, University of Missouri St. Louis 7-2, 3-1 in the conference. So good things going on there. Missouri S&T women are 5-2. So I think it's worth noting that their men at Missouri S&T is 6-0. Their women starting off well as well. So at 5-2. So good things going on in basketball at Missouri S&T. SBU women 4-5 and 2-2 in the conference. We'll shift gears here a little bit to Missouri State and Mizzou, and I'll let you chime in here a little bit. Women at Missouri State are 6-3. They open their conference right after the break. I think the date is actually December the 29th. A lot of those schools, unless they're in a holiday tournament of some sort, they do take a period of 6 to 8 days off, at least calendar-wise, between games. And so when they come back from the break, they will actually have 3 conference games in the span of about 8 days. Missouri State women will. So they'll probably find out who they are then.
Yeah, they've got a good group. They're pretty good, and they've got a lot of talent returning from last year's team, a lot of experience, and a lot of new people that they've plugged into holes that they had. And look for that program to be in the mix at the top of the MVC.
Yeah. First conference game, they'll open with University of Illinois Chicago. So good luck to the Lady Bears as they start conference play here in 2 weeks, essentially. Missouri State men, they come in at 5-5. They actually have played a conference game. They played a conference game early versus Indiana State at home and lost that game. They too will dive headfirst into the conference play starting December the 29th, and they will have 3 conference games in the span of 8 days as well.
Yeah, that's usually the time, right? For most conferences at all levels, conference games generally, you'll have 2 to 3 to 4 conference games before the new year, and then obviously you're stepping right in to full-fledged conference games. But it's very important for those teams to make hay while the sun's out, and so right now over the holidays, people tend to think, well, kids go home and they have a big break. That's not the case at the college level. Hey, the kids may be off campus for 2 or 3 days, and then gosh, I remember back in the day having to be back Christmas night,
Yeah.
For practices, getting ready for conference play.
Yeah. Mizzou women are 9-3. That one kind of slipped past me. I didn't realize that they were playing that well. They have not played a conference game yet, and they too will start conference play. Kind of what you mentioned there, coinciding with the first of the year, essentially in the SEC. The men are 9-1. Still celebrating probably that big win over Kansas. Their non-conference schedule by the experts hasn't been a real tough one, but obviously the win over Kansas is a good one. And then on the 22nd of December, they play Illinois in the bragging rights game. So
yes,
that'll be a good test against a really talented Illinois team.
Absolutely. I got a chance to watch Illinois play on Saturday night and lost to the nation's #1 team, Tennessee, by 2 points on a last-second shot. So very formidable opponent, top 25 opponent come on next Sunday or this Sunday, upcoming Sunday. And you can throw out records. It doesn't matter how good or how bad either team is. And both teams are pretty dang good right now.
Yeah.
But, they call it the bragging rights game for a reason. There's a lot at stake.
Yeah, for sure. That's always a good one. And you're right. You kind of throw out, all the records and all the analysis and all the matchup stuff, and those two teams just get together and they play, and it's always a good one. So looking forward to that game for Mizzou. And man, if they were to kind of mess around and win that game, now all of a sudden they've got wins against KU and Illinois in the span of about 2 weeks. That would sort of change the outlook for them. And hey, in March, a couple of wins like that could make you or break you in terms of getting into a field of 68.
Absolutely. And hey, let's face it, you play in the brutal SEC. There are going to be some nights you may take it on the chin, and you've got to have those non-conference wins such as KU and possibly Illinois to bolster your resume for that selection come March. For
sure. Well, that's kind of all I had in terms of basketball. Again, it is here, and as the weeks go on, obviously we're going to have a lot more to talk about there, and a lot more stories and a lot more individual accolades, I think, will kind of pop to the surface, and teams that have surprised people and those kind of things that you and I tend to focus on and spread the word on. So we look forward to those evolving stories in college basketball as they present themselves here towards the first of the year. Darren, that's all I had for tonight. I'm going to give you a chance to tell our listeners where they can find us and learn more about us. So I'm going to let you do that now.
You bet. Follow us on Twitter at DeRo_on deck or at Missouri_sports. Give us a follow. You can find us on Facebook, Missouri Sports Network, as well as YouTube with the same name. And always, for updated scores or information, go to www.MissouriSportsNetwork.com.
Awesome. Well, viewers, we appreciate you joining us, and thanks for participating in this. I always say this, but this isn't just two guys. It's two guys that are trying to bring you guys in and sort of have this bigger community of sports fans, and especially as it relates to athletics inside Missouri. Darren and I are both huge supporters of what goes on athletically inside our state. So please reach out if you have a story or some news that you think is newsworthy. Please share that with us, and we'd love to get your story out there. With that being said, we are, 10 days from Christmas, Darren?
Coming up pretty quick, buddy. Better get your shopping done.
Yeah.
I better get mine started.
that's what I was going to say. So, yeah. I work best under pressure. So
yes, absolutely.
Hey, it's been good hanging out with you tonight, Darren. To all our viewers out there, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time on Deck with DeRo Arch. Have a good evening.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in.